And now to discuss this, I'm joined by the Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Elvis Akpobi. Mr. Akpobi, it's nice to have you around.
Okay.
So let's start this way before we scale it down to the legislative arm. What is the major problem with the structure of governance in Nigeria? And is that the bane of what some people have tagged as underperformance in the past and previous administrations?
Yes, it is. It's a game of underperformance being tagged by people. Because for me, I believe that ordinarily the legislature should not be an appendage of the executive. It should be autonomous. Let's take, for example, today's the leadership of today's National Assembly. For me, I think they are romancing the executive council, and things are not going on well. We've seen cases where ordinarily legislators were elected by their constituents to amplify the muted voices of their constituents. But today, it seems as if when they get there, they become silent. There was a budget. A budget was, the budget for this year was organized and all that. How many legislators went back to their constituents and asked them that, what do we really want? You don't do things for people they don't need. How many legislators have town hall meeting or what are our needs at the moment before putting them in the budget? And let's not forget too, there's an alleged issue of budget padding for a legislature where we had a particular set of people during electioneering that says they are the ones that will rescue Nigeria, in the sense that a particular party, I will not mention the party, a lot of young people had confidence in that party. A lot of persons rode from nothing to stardom with that party. Today, they are the National Assembly and they are muted. So it's as if people push for power, but once they get the power, they fall asleep. So until the legislature sits up, number one, stop being an appendage of the executive council, we will not get it right as a country.
Okay, we'll talk more about budget padding in a while, but then in a system where it's budgetary allocation, finances, constituency allowances, and overall expenditure is shrouded in secrecy, Elvis, are you saying that fully what is needed is an independent parliament? Are you saying that is the solution?
Yes, it is. An independent parliament, because if you are the one that will grant me access to how I need to function, I'll become complacent, and that's what's happening with the leadership of the National Assembly today. We've seen cases, we've heard uninspiring statements from leadership. And another thing again, I noticed that we are not organized as citizens, because the office of the citizen is the greatest office in the land, and not that of those who contacted governance to put our vote. They are just there to do things for us for a period of time. But wherever they find themselves at the moment is based on trust, and they can be recalled. But today, everybody seems to be, complacent. Everybody's just going their normal way just because they feel a handful of people, there's hegemony in the land, a handful of people have placed onto power and determined what happens. But like Senegal, I think in the coming election, these electorate, young people can take our future into our hands.
Okay, let's tie the issue around budget padding to the need for accountability. You just talked about budget padding a while ago, an allegation leveled against the Senate president and the suspension of the instigator. So tell us, what do you think can be done to ensure accountability? Because if there's so much autonomy for these legislatures, how do we begin to make them accountable? How do we ensure that what is being committed to them in terms of finance, they are going to use it judiciously for the purpose intended?
Our leadership recruitment process as a country is basically driven by money, bad politics, not measured by people with character, people with proven track record of accountability and responsiveness. It's mostly people with the money back politics that is taking place. I find out that a lot of the electorate, they subscribe, owing to the fact that they are poor and they become vulnerable, they subscribe to those with the money, and that's how you see the wrong people making policies for us. So we must have an accountable legislator, an accountable leadership. Let's not forget too, you might not want to agree, but it's an open knowledge that the executive council, once the president is elected, whoever is supporting as the Senate president or deputy Senate president, leadership of the Senate, everybody subscribed to it. Allegedly, I was made to understand that money always exchange hands to vote for whoever feels, whoever gets, the support of the president. And if the president helps you to get to become the leadership of the Senate, you always subscribe to the policies of the president, whether it's good for the people or it's bad for the people. That's why we are where we are today. But like Senegal, I'll keep what we do as not young today is to keep amplifying the immediate voice of people, advocating for good governance. We'll keep pushing because at the moment, Nigeria is overwhelmed with almost 70% of young people. If we are organized, who determine who pilots the affairs of our country, who determine who pilots the affairs of our legislature, and we'll have good governance.
So some people have actually said that advocating for good governance might not be enough, that there probably might be a need for restructuring of the legislative arm of government. So if you are talking about good governance, we are talking about the right bills coming to the floor, constituency projects and oversight capabilities being done effectively by these legislatures. What reforms do you think can come into play to ensure that all these come to bed and people at the end of the day benefit more from it?
I want to talk about reforms like freedom of speech as a legislator, because let's use Senator Lingi's for example. He blew the whistle. He wasn't comfortable with what was happening. He blew the whistle, and you find out that almost 60% of his colleagues are against him today. They're talking about the integrity of the Senate. If you people did the right thing, we'll not be talking about integrity. Another thing, another reform, we don't even need reforms. All we need is mindset evaluation as electorate. Who are the people we are sending to amplify our muted voices? Are these people in sync with character, proven track record of accountability and all that? If they are not, then we are not expecting anything good from them. And that's how we've seen with a handful of the legislators we have today. It's about their personal interest and not the national interest. And that's why you see like Nigeria is a crawling giant in Africa. Nothing is happening. We're blessed with rich human and natural resources. We have crude oil. We have all that things, but we're not moving forward just because we have bad leadership. And let's not forget too, we have to have good citizenry to get good leadership. What are we doing as citizens? Are we gullible? Do we subscribe to corruption and all that? Because if we do that, we will not have better leaders. Okay. So our problems are foundational problems. Our problems are man-made. We need to ask ourselves some questions and need to come to the table and take the right decision.
Elvis Akpobi, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks for having me.